that you will submit with your proposal. Okay, this is pretty much, you need to fill it out, the response information, which is pretty much a response name is going to be the person submitted the proposal. So another component that you will see is the table of contents. So this is going to list all the articles which are organized along with the corresponding page numbers. And also it will list all the attachments, including in these solicitations, which is going to be at the back of the RFP. So I just want to mention to you, sometimes you can see like 100 pages or 1,000 pages, but don't be intimidated with all those pages. The RFP is compounded by instructions and forms, and it doesn't mean that you will need to submit the whole pages or the whole the whole pages of the RFP with your proposals. CHA include the articles, which sometimes are instructions and forms and submittal requirements that you need to submit with your package. The another page that you will see in the RFP is the key sections. So this is going to be information, key information for you. So you will find the contact information of the procurement specialist. You will find an email and the phone number of the procurement specialist, which is the person that you will need to contact if you have questions regarding the solicitation. That's the only person that you can contact if you have questions regarding the solicitation. Okay, let's say, oh, you met Carolina in this presentation. I will ask her because maybe she knows about the solicitation. No, it has to be, even when I will be more than happy to help you, you will need to contact your procurement specialist that is in their contact information in this page. Also, parts of this page, you will find the submissions due date and time, which is pretty much usually you will submit. Usually, you have to submit the letter of intent to be like 2 weeks in advance of the proposal submission due date, but you should verify the actual date noted in this part. Pretty much, you will see what time and what date and time you have to submit your response. Pre-proposal meetings are virtual. So in these meetings, you will have the opportunity to meet the user departments, procurement teams involved in the RFP. And pretty much they go over the solicitation, they explain the scope of work, they explain the requirements, and they give you more details about the RFP. So in these meetings, you have the opportunity to make questions and get the answers just right away. So, however, if you're not able to attend these pre-proposal meetings, you can view these meetings online, and the direct link will be linked in this solicitation, as you can see in this example. The site visits, sometimes is mandatory, sometimes it's not. So please check with the procurement specialist. These site visits can help you to have an idea how can you perform the job, because actually this is going to be the actual location where you're going to perform the job or the project. Excuse me, can you please mute your microphone? Questions period is pretty much the time frame that you will have to submit questions to the procurement specialist. These questions has to be these questions has to be submit through the supplier portal. So again, if you're not registered, you have to be registered in the supplier portal. So after the question period, the procurement specialist is not obligated to answer your question. So you will need to keep in mind those dates and times to submit either your proposal or your questions. Okay. The way that you will receive those answers is going to be in a letter named addendum. So your answers is going to be combined with all vendors' questions. Okay, so please don't expect that you receive just your answer. It's going to be combined with all the vendors' questions and answer, which I think is very helpful for you in case you don't have any other questions, so you can see the the questions of other vendors. So CHA is not accepting physical proposal at this time, so you should submit the proposal through the supplier portal. And again, register on the supplier portal, and this is a commercial. We have training next Monday. I'd include a flyer at the end of this presentation to give you details about the time and the address where this training is going to be facilitated. And this is going to be pretty much about how to register and also how to navigate, meaning how to respond to an event, how to respond on an RFP. And this training is going to be next Monday.
Quick question: with the letter of intent to submit the proposal, there's an attachment B. Is that provided through any of the portals, or
It is. It is actually
okay.
That is a form, exactly. And I want to talk about. I'm providing an sample on this presentation of that letter.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So other sections of the RFP is the articles, and I will talk about the standards articles, or more important. Well, actually, all the articles are important, but this is the most relevant to you in terms of respond to your proposal. So the Article 2, which is the intent and purpose. So it's an overview of why the agency is using the solicitation and their expectation. Also provide the vendors with insight as to the CHA intentions for the project and the purpose of the project. Also, you will see the Article 3, which is the scope of service or statement of work. This is pretty much a detailed description of the work of service that CHA is requesting. This description will include the objectives to be achieved, the deliverables, meaning when and how, performance standards, metrics, and/or measurements. Also, we provide a timeline for receiving goods or services, so pretty much how long it's going to take. And the last one, detail that include in this description is the reporting methods. Okay, so there is two parts that, in me personally, I always recommended the vendors to read in the solicitation. So pretty much what you have to read the whole package, the whole instructions, because it's very important to you in terms of responding the RFP. However, the two most important things to read to determine that you are able to perform the job is reading the submittal requirements. Okay, and I want to talk about later about the submittal requirements and the scope of work, because pretty much the scope of work is the job that you're going to perform. So it's very important that you understand what do you need to performance. Okay, otherwise you cannot, if you're not able, you don't want to waste your time doing all this process if you're not going to be able to perform the job. The Article 5 is talking about the submittal requirements. The submittal requirements pretty much is a list of documents the vendors has to prepare in a narrative form and must submit with the proposal to be deemed responsive. So every point is going to tell you why you will need to submit on your narrative documents. So again, it's very important to read every single point. It is important that you keep in mind that every solicitation is different. So don't assume that because you performed a similar project in the past, these requirements are going to be the same. So just read the instructions. So we have, of course, we have standard forms, but the requirements varies for each solicitation because it depends the service or the products that CHA is requesting. One of the first submittal requirements that is going to point in this page is the format. Is one of the notes that this point advises is pretty much what that you will need to submit your submittal file individually. Okay, this means that one file has to be your file, that file has to submit it one at a time. Also, is going to tell you that there is a maximum size of the title of your attachments, not the file size. So keep in mind that, okay? Make sure that the title of your file is not more than 50 characters. Otherwise, in the submittal, in the supplier portal, you want to receive an error. So my recommendation is to create your files in a folder. Once you're ready with your submittal requirements, start with the start responding the event in the supplier portal. But first, create or put your submittal requirements in one place on your computer, and that's going to be more helpful for you. And then you can start uploading those submittal requirements one by one. Another point that you will see is the cover letter and executive summary form, which provide details on what is required, qualification and experience, which should outline the qualification, resources, and experience of the respondent in order to successfully complete work, and make it clear how the firm is able to do the work. And in the next slides, I attach or I include some samples to you, and I want to talk with more details about these submittal requirements. The approach and work plans should clearly describe how and detailed narrative format respondents intend to complete the work. Organization structures and key personnel, which shall include projects participants and other subcontractors. Also, the vendor submission checklist identifies documents required for responsive proposal. Also, you want to see this form in this presentation. So, and this is, we're going to start with the samples of the requirements. Sample of the cover letter and executive summary. So this is a sample. Please don't copy and paste, okay? This is just a sample, and actually has like, you know, like maybe it can have a dummy names or things like that, but it's just an example. I just want to show you how you will need to create a narrative documents when you're submitting your requirements. This sample, this letter could be one page or a book if you want, but you need to make sure that you include those key points that are in the RFP. So everything is going to be in the solicitation. So the solicitation or the instructions pretty much is like a homework book. So where you can find, you know, you have the answers. I mean, you have the questions, but also you have the answers there. So make sure you read. That's why it's very important to read the instructions. The cover letter and executive summary have has to include these key components, which is this letter states the ability to get insurance according to the CHA requirements. It says that the company will provide a service as requested in the RFP. It states the company will hold their price for 120 days which means this offer is good for at least 120 pages. I'm sorry, days. It states briefly why vendor's company is qualified for award, and also the company has read and understand the requirements of the RFP along with the simple professional service agreement. Oh, so in this part, in this area, in this letter, also you submit if there, you should note if there is a disagreement after you offer proposed change, okay? So you have to submit or include if you have any disagreement with this, maybe with the scope of work. And the last part is this letter has to be signed in the by the principal and the joint venture if you have a joint venture. Another example is a sample of the submittal requirements is the qualification and experience. So vendors pretty much we have to provide evidence of the ability to perform some work that is required. So you have to, you can see here is going to be a description of the staff professional and technical. So pretty much is who will be involved on this project and what are going to be their responsibilities and roles. The overview must contain this information, which is the name of the company, company's area of expertise, length of time company has been in business, name of the principals and their professional and technical skills, educational background, work experience and technical trainings, names, email addresses and phone number of the key staff to contact, number of employees, including you, and companies registration and license numbers. The approach and work plan sample. So the respondent, so you as a vendor or the person of business submitting a proposal must detail in a narrative form how will accomplish the service described in the RFP, okay? So you should incorporate in the approach work plan the following, which is the project management systems, quality control, which is the performance standards to ensure requirements are met and as described in the scope of work. So the quality control is pretty much about the project. For example, it can be inspections, deliverables per reviewing and testing the products. Quality assurance, which is the process of checking goods and service to ensure there are no defects. So this is pretty much relates to how the process is performed. So this process helps to verify if they're doing the right thing in the right way. Plant communication is pretty much how often you will meet with a CHA to provide updates and or progress of the project. Reporting tools pretty much is what software you will use to schedule your staff or track and report. An example could be Microsoft Project Management or emails or forms. So pretty much it's going to be what system or software you want to use to reporting your progress. This is a continuation of the approach and work plans. Also has to include in your in this submittal requirements when the deliverables can be expected and how progress of the project will be measured, time frame for the project, and plans as to how vendors will work with the customer to achieve success. This is example of the past performance that you will need to include in your proposal. So again, the requirements varies in each solicitation. So in this requirements, it says that you will need to submit at least 3 to 5 past performance projects, but it can be, 3, 4, or 5. So those price in those projects has to be similar to the actual projects. For example, if you were working for CHA in the past, but that was project was in carpentry, but this project or this RFP or the service that CHA is requesting is for construction, so that it doesn't count as a project because it's not the same nature of this project. So make sure the projects that they asking to you to include as a reference or as a past performance is similar to this project. The respondent must list 3 to 5 past performance in each listing, must be a minimum of 1 page detailing the following. So you have to include the scope of work or service and the amount of the awarded contract. And you can see the example in this part. The description of previous or current benchmarks of a contract, and if the benchmarks were met. If you have challenges on the previous contracts, and how were those challenges resolved. Also, you should include that history of completing projects on budget and timeline. Description of success of past projects and how the success will relate to the project that respondent is submitting to the proposal. Also, you should submit ability of the respondent to meet performance indicators. This is a sample of the organization structures and key personnel. So you should submit in this pretty much organization chart, which display your company structure. So even if it is 1 or 2 employees, you have to create this organizational structure, okay? And you have to include for your key personnel, you have to include all the projects that each team member is working on, okay? Also contractors working on the account, you will have subcontractors. Previous experience in projects, and also the description of each team member assigned duties. And this is pretty much the personnel or the key personnel that is going to be involved in this project. So we're going to continue with the articles. The other article that that you will find is the Article 7, which is the evaluation process. So this is pretty much is going to describe the CHA evaluation process, okay? The technical evaluation process has a total has a total point value, which the submittal requirements from the respondent will be evaluated and scored, as you can see in this table. In this table, you will see the value points for each requirements of the evaluation criteria. So, for example, as you can see, the first submittal requirement that is in the evaluation criteria in this example is experience in past performance. As you can see, is valued maximum 30 points. So make sure on this submittal requirements that you are including all the required points to get the maximum score, which is going to be 30, okay? And you will ask, who will score the vendors? There is a team of evaluators that will separately evaluate and score each submitted proposal, okay? There is pretty much 3 components to the evaluations, which is the factor determining best value, include and are not limited to price, compliance, technical factors, and or presentations if required. So as you can see here, it's going to be 3 factors is the technical evaluation, the oral presentations, and the best and final offer. So the technical factors could include past performance, references, approach of work, insurance, qualifications, experience, etc. So pretty much the respondents within the competitive range will continue in the process towards to award. So pretty much you got like, this is gonna be a total combined points of 100 points. So you got the 100 points, you wanna move forward to towards to the award process. The oral presentation will provide the awarding agency the opportunity to clarify issues. So they may ask questions, and also you can provide additional information for negotiations. So at this point, if there's an oral presentation, they will send you what information you need to provide additional with all those submittal requirements. And also sometimes it's required, sometimes it's not. So it depends on RFP. The best and final offer is the lowest price. A vendor will reduce the pricing for contracts award. So if you remember this RFP, to get the contract is based on the best value and the best price. So this is the forms pretty much that you will find also in the solicitations. So the forms are documents included in this solicitation as provision to be returned with your proposal. So like I mentioned to you, don't be intimidated with those 100 or 1,000 pages. These are examples of the forms that you must submit with your proposal. The articles 10 is pretty much the executive summary, and is a form that you will need to submit. It certifies that you as a vendor, you receive a full document set for the request for proposal, and the proposal is in accordance with the terms and condition and solidifies price terms. So you have to complete it and sign it, this form. As you can see examples on red, you will see this samples, company name, Submittal Constructions. This is a fictitious information, okay? You see my name here and a phone number. This phone number is fake. Please don't call me, okay? This is fake number. And even the email. So, but it's just gonna provide an examples how to complete these forms. This is the letter of intent. And we talk about this letter of intent in the beginning. We were talking about the dates that you will need to submit it. So this is the letter that you have to submit if you want to bid. And it's like I mentioned to you, it's typically 2 weeks in advance. The submission of this letter is like 2 weeks in advance of the actual submission proposal. So, but please always check the date and time in this page, okay, and fill it up and return to the procurement specialist. The checklist, the submission checklist. This list is going to list all the submittal requirements that you have to provide. You have to put your initials on it. What are you submitting with your proposal? You have to sign in and put the date in this part, and it has to be in your package as well. So all these forms, there are going to be a lot of forms that are going to be included in this proposal. Also, is going to be a lot of documents that you will need to create in a narrative form and submit. But if you, for some reason, you don't find those forms in the actual solicitations, you can download all those forms in the website, in the CHA website, which is the www.cha.org. You're going to doing business with CHA, and then you're going to find in options saying forms and documents. So all those forms are available for the public. And you can download those forms if you need extra copies, or you need to save it on your computer and start to fill it out, those forms. All forms must be filled out in their entirety. So make sure you complete all those fields, and so if something is not applicable to you, please write down not applicable to you, okay? So there is going to be some forms that are going to be that we need, you will need to notarize. So please make sure you pay attention to those details, okay? Otherwise, your form is going to be rejected and you're going to be out of the participation to seem not responsive. Financial statements. So you must provide by independent account a CPA letter or accountant or CPA letter. As you can see, those examples here in this part. It has to be accounted, must be the accountant or the CPA must be independent, which is third party from the vendor. Okay, it has to be outside of your company, not internal. Letter must specify the work they did and the time period the financial cover. Also, you have to include 2 full years, which is going to be 24 consecutive months and most recent years. So, for example, we're in the 2023. The 2 full years or last 4 years is the 2022 and 2021. So those financials must include all the following, which is the income statement, and you can see examples in this part. You can see the image in this area, the balance sheets, the cash flow statements. Also, there's going to be 3 levels of work are possible, which is compile, review, or audit, depending on the contract's value. So, for example, if there is 2,500,000, you would need to provide a compiled financial statements. If it is between 2,500,000 and 10 million, you will need to provide a reviewed financial statements. If the awards value is in excess of 10 million, you will need to provide the audited financial statements. Okay. So the tax returns, bank statement, letter from financial institutions are not acceptable. Just keep in mind that. Another required form is the statements of bidders' qualifications. So in this form, you will provide pretty much a financial and signature information for the bidders. Require references from past contracts that are similar in nature to the project you are bidding on. If a bidder is part of the joint venture, each business of the joint venture must submit this form. Okay, if there is you or somebody else, both of you have to submit this form. And again, note NA in fields that are not applicable to you. And I provide you an example in this part. Again, you will need to provide the specific, in this form, you will need to provide the RFP title, which this title, the project title or the RFP title is going to be in the first page of the solicitation, okay? Also the RFP specification or RFP number, that number is you will find this number also in the first page of the solicitation. Company name, Dun and Bradstreet number. If you have the number, you have to submit it here, or NA if you don't have. Parent company, if applicable. previous company, if it's a previous company's name, if you have another company, if you were doing business with another name, enter your name here, or if not, NA. Okay, don't assume because you don't have a or that a specific questions is not applicable to you, we will know. For us, for CHA, is going to be form incomplete. So that's why it's very important to write NA or write or enter not applicable if some question or forms are not applicable to you. The person authorized to sign offers and contracts on behalf of company, in this case, my name, president, the bank's references, you should enter the bank address, city, contact person, and the telephone number. This is the part that you will need to enter the business references. And as you can see, this example, ABC Constructions, what activity were you performing in that specific company? What was the dollar amount? Date complete, the contract number, contact person, and the phone number. And you have more, just add those references that you have in this line. So if you need extra copies, extra fields, you're more than welcome to add extra sheets, okay? And of course, don't forget to sign in by the owner or the principal, print your name and date it. Another form that you will need to submit is the subcontractor information submittal form. You will require, this form is required with all your submissions, okay? So if there is no subcontractors that you will use, checkbox mark with no subcontractors. As you can see here, it says NA, okay? Or you can write out will not subcontract out. But if you do, there is an example, you will write down the subcontractors' names and address in this part, and then the scope of work, what that subcontractors is going to work on this project. Contractor's name, your signature, and the president. In the title, I'm sorry. Contractor's affidavit. This has to include a minimum. It requires must be notarized. Okay, just make sure, like I mentioned to you, this is gonna be the instructions is gonna be in the form. Actually, it's gonna tell you that this form has to be notarized. So make sure you notarize these forms once you complete to fill it out. All lines must be filled in, and also please read the instructions prior to filling out the form. This form is pretty much like it's 14 pages. I just showing or providing the first page, but this is 14 pages. So make sure you fill it out all the questions that this form is asking for you, okay? And at the end, it's gonna be a section that you will need to sign in, and it's gonna be the seal of the notarized. The notary is going to be at the end. But make sure you include the 14 pages with your proposal. The economic disclosure statements, which is the ADS, this form has to be notarized as well. And of course, including your proposal. This is pretty much information about your organization. So meaning the organizational structure, the ownership structure. This form disclosures relate to litigations, concerns, financial, real estates, or businesses, and also talks about the ethics. This includes the certification statements, acknowledgements, contracts, incorporations, compliance, penalties, and disclosure. Also, you have to let CHA knows if you have any CHA employee, any CHA relationship, or you have any relationship with a CHA employee. And a relationship means if you have any type of financial transactions with family members, friends, or co-workers, okay? And again, this is the first page of 12 pages. Make sure you complete the 12 pages, and at the end, you will need to sign in and notarize the form. Another required form is the HUD 2530, the 2530, which is the previous participation certifications. So the principal or the vendors apply to HUD or USDA, FMHA, as the case may be, for approval to participate in the projects. So you have to read all the instructions and make sure or make full disclosure and double check for accuracy, and add extra sheets if you need, okay? If you don't have a previous participations, so in this part, in this, the number 7, you will list no previous participations for your first experience, okay? But if you do, you will need to enter here in the agency name, and city where the applications is filled. In this case, it's going to be this agency, which is the Chicago Housing Authority, the project name, the project name, number, and the location, okay? And then you will enter that information, the loan or contract amount, number of units or beds, if it's applicable. If not, again, you want to say NA or 0 in this case, because it's asking for numbers. And of course, don't forget to sign in, list your name and the signature of the principal, and date and the phone number. The other form that is request or mandatory form is the HUD 5370, which is the general conditions for constructions contracts. And sometimes it's applicable, sometimes it's not. So, but when it's applicable, you have to submit it. This form is required for all constructions or development contracts greater than $150,000. Okay, so just make sure you read the instructions. So pretty much this is more pages. I'm not sure how many pages, but pretty much it's like instructions or terms, conditions for your contract. So please read all those conditions for construction, because this is going to be for constructions contract. So please read this form, and you will need to complete only the page 8 and 9 of this form. So make sure you fill it up and sign this form as well. The Equal Opportunity Compliance certificate. Again, you will need to submit in your proposal, and this is pretty much a CHA is committed to equal employee opportunity and supporting diversity in all its forms. So all bidders are required to comply with all federal, locals, and states equals opportunity regulations. So, and this is an example of how you will fill it up. So for example, here in the laborers, you have a total employees of 3, but they you can split in the diversity. For example, it's you have 1 white male, you want to click here 1, black male, you want to enter 1, and another Hispanic male, you have 1, which is a total of 3 total employees. Okay, You will need to enter the date, your signature, your title, and again, your first name, street address, city, and phone number. And at this point, when I was doing this example, I found out that the filling it up all these forms, the information is very repetitive, okay? Which is your business name, your phone number, that information. So don't assume because you fill it up a form where you provide the same information that another form is asking to fill it up. So don't assume that you don't need to provide the form because it's the same information. No, every single form is to states at different points of your contracts. So make sure about that. And at this point, I will let Kevin Brooks to talk about another important form that you will need to submit with your proposal, which is the fee form. Kevin?
Good morning, Carolina. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Carolina, can you stop sharing for a second so I can thank you?
Mhm.
Can you all see the Excel spreadsheet on my screen?
Yes.
All right, everyone. As Carolina mentioned, the fee proposal form is a very important form. This is the form in which you will enter your pricing. The proposal form that I have here is just one of many. Each of the forms are tailored to the pricing needs of whatever solicitation you're responding to. So some things will be straightforward, other things will be a little bit more complex, but it's all depending upon what CHA and the user department needs pricing for, so they can better understand what your costs are, how your costs will be applied over time, and so that we can measure apples to apples when looking at your cost versus someone else's. In this specific fee form, you'll see there are different columns. This one's for unit numbers, so if there are multiple things, you'll see units 1 through 5. This one is specification or service description. So if I'm looking for parts, you may see something like tires, engines, steering wheels. If I'm looking for services, you'll see installation of all car parts. And here it could be warranty of installation. So each one of these will specify exactly what it's looking for, and that will be what you're responding to as far as your pricing. The unit of measure. The unit of measure can be different depending on what you're looking for. For instance, if your service description was labor for car installations, for parts installations, then your unit of measure may actually be per hour. If you're looking at tires in the service and specification description, then your unit of measure is likely to be each, because we want to know how much each tire costs. If for some reason we were looking for something that was specific to a manufacturer, in this instance, we're asking about tires. The manufacturer name is to help us to understand the quality of what you're offering. It's under rare circumstances that we're asking for something specific when we're looking for items, but if we don't ask for anything specific in the scope of services, then there's a possibility that we may ask for the manufacturer just so we understand the quality of the product that you're offering. For instance, if you're looking at the manufacturer name for tires, if you say Pirelli or Como, then we know what quality is offered. If you say Jim's Tires, that changes the conversation. We'd have to do some research to find out what the quality of Jim's Tires are. The manufacturer name usually helps with a known quantity, or I'm sorry, a known quality. And this is where you would enter your bidder's unit price. So for this, my bidder's unit price would be, if I'm doing installation, it will be per hour. what is my price per hour? If I'm doing tires, my bidder's unit price would be, what is my cost per tire? Estimated quantities. Typically, you're going to see estimated quantities in your fee forms. If you're looking for items, it's the estimated number of items that we're going to need during the life of that contract. If you're looking at hours, it's the estimated number of hours that we think that it would take you to complete whatever it is for that contract. 9 times out of 10, we'll be entering the estimated quantities when it comes to hours, unless it's something in which we need your input on the number of hours. But if there are numbers in this field, the field will usually be locked so that it cannot be changed. And the total bid price, that will be the bidder's unit price times the estimated quantities, and that'll give us the total bid price. When you receive your fee form in Excel spreadsheet format, the form will automatically calculate the total bid price. It isn't here because I'm working from a template, but once we have established what the bidder's unit price is, you enter your price here, and it'll automatically do the equation to multiply your estimated quantities and enter your total price here. And this here will also typically automatically calculate to give you your aggregate total, which will be the total amount for your bid. In Monday's training, Carolina went over how you respond to certain line items in your supplier portal response. Those line items typically will match what's in your fee form, or there may be a detailed fee form that has an aggregate total, and you'll match up those aggregate totals on your line items. It depends on the type of solicitation as well as the pricing need of the solicitation. Now, something that you notice here, it says category X for services specification and description. In this instance, if we were doing landscaping and we were looking for doing landscaping on specific service areas, then this could be pricing for service area 1. You see a duplicate pricing for service area 2, and it lets us know that you're responding to the needs for service area 1, and that this aggregate total would be for service area 1 or whatever category number you'd be looking at. Now I'm going to move to a different type of fee form. And as I mentioned, each fee form will be different depending on the solicitation that you're responding to. My recommendation is don't assume that everything will be the same. So when you look at this fee proposal, if you've responded to categories 1, 2, and 3, then your aggregate totals are where you would enter them here. This lets us know that we asked for a lot of detail in the previous fee form, but we also really care about what that total price would be. So the aggregate totals are showing here. This portion down here, it's not just for identification. It's showing the signature of the authorized company representative. That means if someone is not authorized to provide pricing, then they should not be signing this portion, nor should they be completing this form. If in any way, shape, or fashion you have incorrect pricing on there, it is something you are bound to, because both in your letter of intent as well as within your submission, you're stating that your pricing is correct and that it will be available for at least 180 days prior to award. So this is a binding moment. You want to make sure that only the signature of the authorized representative goes here. And same thing, signature, printed name, name of company, telephone number, title, and email address. The signature verifies that the authorized agent is aware of the pricing, and the rest of that is so that we can call if we had any questions about the pricing. As I stated before, fee forms can vary in complexity. Give me 1 second, let me get a little bit closer. This specific one is looking at snow and de-icing for certain groups. It's giving here group one because group one was identified in some way, shape, or fashion within the solicitation or within one of the attachments. So as Carolina mentioned, it's important that you read through the entire RFP document. Don't just skim and attempt to fill things out. Don't just think about eyeballing your pricing because you will be bound to the pricing that you provide. You want to make sure that you get a good idea of the details that are being requested. And if possible, attend a site visit just so that you know what's included with group one and that you're providing a unit of measure because we're looking for how many times you're going to provide snow and de-icing services for group one and what is the bidder's unit price. Now, in the group one description or in the scope of services, it's likely to identify what an estimated quantity of one is. That could be that it's asking for what is it cost to clear a lot after a snow one time. Or it could be what is the cost of doing those snow and de-icing services for whatever the season is. So at that point in time, you're going to see whatever you need. I'm sorry, can everyone mute their phones, please? Can you mute your devices, please?
Chunky monkey. My chunky monkey.
Excuse me, can everyone mute your devices, please? Thank you. So in this instance, the estimated quantity will have been defined in some way, shape, or fashion within the description of the scope of services or statement of work. And once again, your bidder's unit price entered in as one would automatically calculate to be your total bid price once you get your version of the fee form. I'm working from a template, so it's going to be different. Let me also open up another example. As I said before, fee forms will vary in complexity. So in this instance, we're looking for location. These are the services that are going to be performed at each one of these locations. The annual preventative maintenance on a quarterly basis, the general and emergency repairs, repairs to BAS IVU controls. So this is for HVAC maintenance in non-residential buildings. So buildings like the Family Investment Center, the Polk Center, and so forth. So you'll see that these are the locations and these are the services that we're asking for. Notice here, this contract or this solicitation is for a 3-year base term. So these quantities here are based on that 3-year term. So here it's asking for annual preventative maintenance quarterly, where there are 4 quarters in a year. 4 times 3 is 12. That's why it's asking for a quantity of 12 here, because it's asking for what is your quarterly annual preventative maintenance price for that 3-year time frame. Here, we're only asking for approximately 8 emergency or general repairs per year. We want to know what the costs are. Sometimes it may be a general repair in which we call you and there's nothing drastic. Other times we're asking for something and it is an emergency. We want to know what that cost would be. And since we're asking for probably no more than 8 per year, we want to know what the cost for that be. So 8 times 3 is 24.
And now I got a question on that real quick. So with the general emergency repairs, approximately 8 times per year. Now that can be, let's just say something goes wrong, you call a guy out. That can be a general, just a regular flat fee. However, if you call someone out and there is an issue and there is something that needs to be replaced, now is that where you determine, okay, well, at this point it's going to be an hourly rate? Is that how you do it, or what happens with that?
The scope of services defines what a general or emergency repair would be. And even within that, you're looking at the fact that your general or emergency repair would include all of said services. So if you came in and you're just doing a general repair, you're replacing a gauge and it's something very simple, then we know what your price is for that repair. But if that happens to be an emergency and it's more extensive, then we know that if you have to replace something a lot more extensive, we know that it's the same price for those because we didn't ask for any differentiation.
Okay, got you.
And here it's asking for repairs to controls, specific controls. It's only asking for 4. We're probably only looking to replace them 4 times within a 3-year time frame. So be very clear that you are focusing on paying attention to what service is being asked, as well as the time frame in which it's being asked for, and how that relates to the estimated quantities. And when you start looking at hourly rates, focus on making sure that you're not just looking at what is the hourly rate of your fastest man, but making sure that you're taking into account who's going to be working on the project, and if there's multiple people that you would call out, making sure you're getting a good average on so that your hourly rate includes all the participants that will be doing the repairs. And here we're asking for what is your standard labor rate? And to your question, Mr. Cotton, we also want to know what your emergency service rate is for weekdays, as well as your emergency service rate for weekends and also for holidays, because we do recognize that there may be an hourly rate difference for those.
Yes.
And like I said here, this portion is to include the aggregate of everything above it. And note this here, bidder's unit price is to include all costs for labor, equipment, materials, parts, and overhead. So I think they may have answered your question, Mr. Cotton.
It did, thank you.
No problem. So now here, once again, because everything in here is a binding price, the signature of the authorized company representative will go here, their contact info, their printed name, the date, and the name of the company below. So this is just covering one element of what can be asked for in a fee form. If you're providing services and we've asked for a lot of different detail within one fee form, you're likely to see something that is, give me 1 second. If we've asked for a lot of details, it's likely that you'll see something in the way of an aggregate total in your that will end up going into your supplier portal response, simply because 3 to 4 different spreadsheets giving hourly rates and total quantities for so many different things can be a bit cumbersome to both digest as well as input. So the aggregate total would give us what we need in supplier portal, and your detail on the fee form will give us what we need in the itemized format. So that's the end of my portion. Caroline, I'll turn it back over to you. I'll stop sharing and turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, I will share my screen. We're almost finished with this presentation, so okay. So you can see the whole screen, right? No, we know it's
No, we can't.
okay. All right, so this is pretty much the last to go to.
You don't see the screen.
You don't see the screen? Okay. Let me start. Okay, let me do it again. Share. What about now?
Yes.
Yeah. we see
Okay,
it.
awesome. Awesome. And you see the whole page, right? Not with the notes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the last, to complete this presentation, the last 5 things that I want to give it to you to remember because I'm nice. These 5 things is one of the first things is complete the registration in the supplier portal. Okay, you haven't done, haven't registered, please do so. Okay, you can contact me. You can contact at the end. I want to add Harriet as well. She's from procurement department. She can also assist with the registration. But yeah, if you haven't completed your registration in the supplier portal, actually it's one of the first things that you have to do. Okay. The second thing is to read the entire solicitation document. Okay, you have to follow the response format and contents instructions. Again, I mentioned to you, this is like a homework book with the answer. So read the entire document. This is like a good novella. Okay, you don't want to skip any chapter, otherwise you're not going to understand the end. Complete and submit all request documents and sign and notarize all documents as required. Also provide insurance for all services, and B bonds will be included for constructions being, so make sure you submit those documentation. The third thing is the acknowledge addendum by signing and submitting with the package. So an addendum, I mentioned the addendum at some point of this presentation. An addendum is any change, any corrections or additions to the solicitations. So for example, if they're changing the due date and time, you will receive a letter in a way of an addendum, okay? So that addendum or that letter, you have to sign in that you have a knowledge of that change and submit it with your proposal, okay? Sometimes it can be just one. They want to put a numbers on it. They want to say like addendum number 1, or it can be more than 1, more than 3, and they want to numbers those addendums as like addendum 1, addendum 2, addendum 3. Make sure you're signing to make you read what is the change or what is the corrections or additions that they are making for the to the scope, to the RFP. The fourth thing is submitting on time. Okay, don't wait until the last minute, because you're not going to be the only person submitting your proposal at the last minute. And you know what that happens when when a lot of people or individuals are using a system at the same time. It can collapse. It can be, it can be a technical issue. So please don't wait until the last time or the last minute to submit your proposal. One of the benefits that has the supplier portal is that you can start responding an event with many days in advance. Okay, so just keep in mind that. Be mindful with your dates and times of the submissions. The submission, it has to be electronic submission, so through the supplier portal. There's we used in the past receive physical responses, but at this point, since the pandemic, we only receive electronic submissions through the supplier portal. And the last but not least is when EDOP asks questions. There are no dummy questions, okay? And those questions, if it is in regard to solicitation, those questions you have to make it to the procurement specialist. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I had a question. How long does it take once you add a commodity code to receive notifications?
It's just actually just right away. But just keep in mind that only if there is a solicitation based on the service that you are providing. For example, if your commodity code, one of your commodity codes is for construction, but at this time there is no construction solicitations open, so you're not going to receive any notifications, if that makes sense. So, but just once you create your profile and add those commodity codes, if there is a solicitation, you want to start to receive alerts or notifications based on the commodity codes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
So I
Yes,
go ahead.
Oh,
yeah, I had a question regarding the templates that were shown throughout the presentation. Will we receive copies of those templates or will they be accessible in the portal or something of that nature?
well, with this presentation, I will forward this presentation if that was your question, but also if you want to find forms, not with the samples, forms in blanks, they are available in the website, the cha.org, doing business and forms and documents.
And to answer the question involving the word template, the Excel templates that I showed will not be shared. These were just for examples. The fee form that you receive in your package, once the RFP is issued, that is the only thing that matters.
Thank you, Kevin.
If you submit a packet for an event and it's rejected, can you receive feedback?
Tamiko, I'm going to ask you to speak on
Yes.
the debriefing, please.
Yes, we do. When you submit a bid, we do send letters of non-awards as well as letters of awards to all recipients. So if you're awarded the a contract, then we would definitely send you an award letter. And if you're not awarded a contract, we would also issue a notice of non-award.
But it's just a letter of non-award, or is there feedback in regards to, like, let's say that you didn't put an NA for something and that's why you didn't get it, or for whatever reason, would you get information on that?
I gotcha. If it's in terms, so we call that we look at those forms during the responsiveness check. If it's something critical, like you just don't have your financials, if there's documents missing or if you've submitted the wrong documents, we would let you know what those are. The letter is more of a general letter, but in terms of deficiencies on the paperwork, we'll let you know. If it's having a debrief as to the specifics as to why we didn't opt to pick your company, then that would be handled on a case-by-case basis, and that would require you to make a request to us to have that meeting.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question on slide 18. Under it was under your name. It had another signature, but I think it was only applicable to corporations. I wanted to ask, yeah, slide 18.
Let me go there. That one?
Yeah, where it says attesting signature's name, who would that be for those who have a corporation?
What part? I'm sorry.
Right under your,
Attesting signature.
yeah,
Oh.
who is that person?
Okay, Tamika, can you please respond to questions?
That would be not only, so the person that's actually preparing the proposal is the first, the signature, the name of the preparer, the attesting signature. If the person that's preparing the document is not authorized to, provide proposals on your behalf, so that would be required for any corporation. If you are a corporation, you would be required to have an attesting. So it's essentially a witness.
Also, it's any person witnessing you filling out the paper.
You're attesting that you are, yes.
Oh, okay, awesome.
And that again would be required for corporations.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
I guess if no one has other questions, I have a lot of questions. Several questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had my hand raised. I don't know if y'all weren't able to see it just because of the screen. But on slide 22, if you're not a joint venture, do you have to fill this out?
No, if you're not a joint venture, you do have to fill it out. So every form has to fill this out. If you are not a joint venture, you would only submit one form for your own firm.
Okay, so for like this example, you wouldn't put under oh, I see. You would just put
CeeLo is not a joint venture, so there's only one. In this particular instance, it does not look like they're a joint venture, so there'll only be one form.
Okay. And then on 2 slides previously, it says that a checklist has to be signed by the vendor.
Can you go back to
I think it's 2
20,
slides. Yeah, that one.
Yes.
Yep.
Where would they sign that? Is
where it
that
says vendor signature?
Oh, I
It's
see.
a, where, yeah, under the, and then you'd put the date next to that. The second signature box is for CHA representatives.
Okay, so like this checklist, is this given to you when you go and see a job, or is it attached when you look at the
It's an
event?
attachment. Yep. Yep. And I'll also, since we're talking about attachments, so I noticed that Kevin did put the link in the website, and that's great. You can always download the forms that are listed in the checklist that is being shown on slide 20. But additionally, when we issue the solicitation documents, these items would be attachments. That's why they're attachments to the RFP.
I see. Okay.
Mhm. So you wouldn't have to download the vendor submission checklist or, the schedules, I'm sorry, the HUD forms or stuff, because those things would be attached. So when you're in strategic sourcing and you download the solicitation pack, those documents would accompany the scopes and other, the actual RFP.
Okay.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, Oscar, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go for it. I'll ask it after you.
I have a question. I think it was page 27 about the construction, 150,000. Go back to that slide.
27, do you say?
I think it's 27. There, further define that. You have there any development contract greater than 150,000. Are you talking specifically only for CHA or overall, as a company may have 2 or 3 projects going on at the same time, and it may exceed the 150? Is 5370 actually just
It's for that
Mhm.
solicitation. So if you're responding to a solicitation that you expect will be over $150,000, you would include this document.
Okay, got
Yep.
it. Okay. Thank
I
you.
got you. Yep. Okay. Oscar, did you say you had more?
Yeah, so on slide 28, when you had the list of employees,
Yeah.
can a person count for 2? So for the first one, I think it says official.
Sometimes I wished we could. No, your total has to, each person, I suppose if you're really, like, maybe they're, they identify as white and Hispanic. So
Oh,
I don't, is
uh,
that what you're asking?
No, not in regards to race. In regards to, like, let's say I'm the officials, like the person that does the paperwork, but I also do like craft skilled. Would you put 1 for official and then account me again as a craft skilled?
No, you would have the total number. We're looking for the total number of employees, and you should count yourself in the capacity that you most identify as. So my guess is, I don't know what your job title is, but if you were, the principal of the company, you would be counting yourself as an official, because ostensibly you might be a skilled craftsman, but your primary responsibility is to operate the business in a way that allows continuity, right? So your primary goal, your primary responsibility would be what you would count yourself under.
And
Okay,
if you wear multiple hats, you can also let that make that known in the organizational structure.
Okay. Cool.
In particular, we're looking to get a breakdown we're looking for a breakdown. So, things that might have, where you might need to clarify more, you would, again, where Kevin mentioned, you would put that in your org chart, or you would note that in other areas.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all the questions I have.
I appreciate those questions.
Good questions, though. Somebody else has some more questions? Thank you, Kevin. Kevin, just provide the link of the forms and documents, so you can go there and upload or download those forms to have an idea of those forms. Okay. Let me go. If you don't have any other questions, this conclude this webinar. Thank you so much for attending this presentation. Please don't forget that this Friday we will have the last part of this series, which is going to be about the how to properly complete the diversity inclusions document. So you're more than welcome to attend this Friday. And then in this presentation, I'm including this flyer to provide you more dates, which is going to be the next week when I repeat this series in person. You want to attend this trainings. Also, if you have any questions, you can see here the Section 3 Business Development Team contact information. You can reach one of us. If you have, questions regarding the supplier portal, or you need assistance how to register, we're gonna be more than welcome to assist you. And also, you will see in this presentation, if you have technical issues, you can contact Harriet Heron-King, which is she is from procurement department. And if you have technical issues, please call CHA Tech Support. And again, this concludes this presentation. Okay, thank you so much for assisting, and I hope to see you soon in the next training.
Thank you, Carolina.
Can you go
Thank
back to
you.
31, Caroline? Can you go back to 31? I didn't see that.
I dropped the flyer in the chat.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you,
thanks a lot.
everyone. Thank you so much.